What's up, guys? It's your friend Chris Donaldson here, and welcome back to the Ask Donaldson Show. This is the 360 real estate show built for you, completely around you, and everything here that we do on the show is built to answer your questions. The Ask Donaldson Show is all Q&A. This is how we got the whole YouTube thing started in the first place. So it's just good to be back in the Ask Donaldson hot seat so that you guys understand when we first started on YouTube, and we'll maybe link right here, like the very first show, all it was me as an instructor wanting to answer the same questions that I was answering for years in class, put them on tape so that you guys could benefit from them. Well, we had so much fun doing it. We did more and more episodes. We turned it into an entire podcast, office hours, live streaming, this whole media thing that we're doing. It's fun. And for me, I like getting back to our roots. And our roots are right here, the Ask Donaldson Show. So I'm super excited to be back. As a reminder, if you guys want to ask us a question, anything that's real estate related, you can do so one of two ways. And surely we'll be posting it right here on the bottom of the video. First, send an email, askdonaldson@christalks.com. askdonaldson@christalks.com, or just simply use the hashtag AskDonaldson on any social network that you choose, and we'll look for your question there. So let's get engaged. Let's see if I can answer your questions and help you with your your current, or your new real estate career. That's what we're here to do. So I've got my team here behind the camera. They are loaded with questions. And just so that you guys know, I don't know what the questions are before they ask them, so that I can give you the most honest, straightforward, best explanation, just as if I was teaching you in a classroom. So my man, Art, what do we got? What's the first question?
I saw somewhere that appraisals will no longer be required on certain home sales of $400,000 and under. What does that mean?
Okay, so the whole $400,000 appraisals not required question. Totally get it, because first of all, we're dealing with federal regulations, we're dealing with numbers, we're dealing with appraisals, we're dealing with like the federal regulatory agencies like the CFPB and all this stuff, and it can be really confusing. So I'll try to answer it. And to my appraiser friends out there, I'm not going to go in as much detail as you want me to. But for all of the rest of you guys, let me make this pretty straightforward. So forever, the limit was $250,000. And what that means is if it is a residential real estate transaction and its value is $250,000 or less, so this is the old rule, then an appraisal was not required. So now by raising it to 400, this is a universal federal change, which means if there's a residential transaction, it's worth 400,000 or less, an appraisal is no longer required, which means the institution could choose, for instance, to do an estimate of value. So what's the difference between an appraisal and an estimate? Well, an appraisal is a valuation opinion that follows all the uniform appraisal practices, that's on standard formats, that's performed by a certified or licensed appraiser. An estimate sometimes, and many times, is performed by an appraiser, but it doesn't conform to all of the federal rules. It's not on necessarily the federal forms, so it's a step down. To give you an example of how this might look, let's say that you're Big Bank USA. You're Big Bank USA, and you are lending money so that somebody can buy a house that's worth under $400,000. Well, previously, you might have to get an appraisal done in order to originate this loan and have that transaction go through. Well, now, Big Bank USA can choose to do an estimate, which means they might have an internal appraiser or an internal process that can estimate the value so that the bank can proceed with the loan and the consumer can proceed with the transaction. So what we're looking at here is the cost of an appraisal, the process of an appraisal. having to find a certified or licensed appraiser to do the work. By raising the threshold, what we're now saying is there's a lot more transactions going forward that are going to not need that process. So if you guys have ever bought or sold a house, one of the fees that you pay for, rightfully so, is generally going to be that appraisal. So what I want you guys to understand now, by raising that Bank USA, Big Bank USA, or any other organization that meets that threshold under 400,000 no longer requires an appraisal. There is an exception, which is a big one. The exception is if it's a federally related transaction with various organizations that will guarantee, insure, or sell the product. So we're looking at VA loans, FHA loans, loans that involve or transactions that involve HUD, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac. Guys, all of those still will require an appraisal. They always have. Each of those organizations will still require an appraisal. But now, if it's residential, it's 400,000 or less, then it may not require a certified appraiser. So what does that mean? Just a little kind of bonus to me. Well, it's estimated that about 40% of transactions each year would fit in this category. So that means there's about 40% of transactions that are now going to be exempt from the normal appraisal rules. So what that means to you as a real estate professional is that we now need to make sure that our market knowledge, that our understanding of the values, the pricing, in other words, the market, knowing my market becomes huge. This is playing right into our hands. So somebody that's a numbers guy like me, this is a really good change because maybe more transactions and more times my expertise, my market data, my information might be relied on so that me and my client or clients can make a good decision. So anyway, if you want to research it, just look below this video and also look in the follow-up email. Those of you that are on our email list, I'll send you some links so you can knock yourself out with all these federal regulations. All right, so we started with the tough one. How long did it take me to answer that one? Because I tried to get like right to the bones. That's how long that, all of it? Okay, just curious. So guys, look, if you're preparing for the real estate exam or you're in real estate, I know that's not the most exciting stuff, but it's important to know your business, right? Know what that 400,000 means, understand the basics, and understand that if I'm Big Bank USA and if it's an FHA loan, well, then I can't use an estimate. It's got to be appraised, right? So just keep that straight, and that's the impact on the industry. 40% of transactions will likely fit within this exempt category. So it's a big change. All right, what have we got next? I'm ready for more questions. You got me rolling. I'm currently caffeinated, ready to go.
If a supermarket bolts down freezers to the floor, are they legally required to remove them when the lease is up?
Okay, so we're dealing with, I'm a supermarket, I have a commercial lease, and I'm either closing down or moving, and we're talking about things like the commercial freezer. Is that the question? Okay. So there's a million examples of this, but in real estate, essentially, a lot of these are referred to as trade fixtures. And trade fixtures in the commercial arena are generally going to be large. Well, let me take a step back. A fixture in the real estate arena is something that is your property that becomes permanent because of the way it's attached, the method of its attachment, the intention of the party that does the attaching. So if you think of a commercial freezer, right? Any of you guys that ever worked at a grocery store or in the service industry like I did, it's going to be a big old metal freezer bolted down to the ground, possibly bolted to the wall, maybe even bolted to the ceiling. It will meet the test in general terms of a fixture. But because it is likely defined as a trade fixture and it's a commercial property and it's a lease, so think about the grocery stores moving from one location. Maybe they leased a big new store. They're allowed to take their freezers with them. So there's some restrictions, of course. You can't destroy the place. You got to repair any damage that might be incurred by removing those freezers. But the grocery business is allowed to take them with them. So they're not required to stay just because they are fixtures. It would be very difficult on both sides of a commercial transaction if every time businesses came and went that they were leaving all of their equipment. It's just not feasible. However, there is a real estate term known as annexation. That could be the word of the day. Annexation is when that trade fixture is by the choice of the business left behind at the expiration of the lease. So it's annexed to the owner. Well, in those cases, then the owner of the property where the freezer sits will be able to decide what to do. So some cases, which is very common, you might see a restaurant and the previous restaurant just didn't work out, they closed down. Well, the developer might try to find another restaurant, and as an advantage, hey, we have some of the commercial fixtures here, so it's a great place for you to lease. Or what some developers do, they'll take the freezers and they'll sell them on the secondary market, right? They'll go sell them because they're worth something and they'll get them out of the property. So again, just the fact that it's permanently attached when it's a commercial lease does not necessarily determine whether it's going to stay behind. Whereas like in residential, as an example, ceiling fans, right? Things that are permanently attached, they become part of the residential property and they stay with the sale transaction. So good question. And if you're in the commercial arena, it's something you'll deal with a lot, especially when businesses close down and they either rip everything out and damage the place because they're frustrated their business closed, or they leave everything behind, and then you've got to decide what you're going to do with all this equipment. So great question. Hope that answers.
On the test, there is a question asking something like, for sale, beautiful Antebellum style home. Can that be said in advertising, or is that an opinion or puffing to say style? In other words, is it okay to say it's a style of home, or is that an opinion?
All right. Now we're moving into something that I enjoy talking about as much as anything, which is the business of real estate, but also relating to marketing. And so what I believe that question is referencing is, what's the difference between puffing and misrepresentation? So let's look at those two. So in the real estate business, and really in all industries, puffing is a part of advertising. It's an opinion. So for instance, if I'm standing in a neighborhood of houses and this is my listing, and I tell Art, I'm like, Art, this is my favorite house in the neighborhood. I love this one. Well, Art might be looking at that house over my shoulder going, that's my least favorite. That's the worst one. I can't stand that one. But my opinion doesn't misstate factual information. That's my opinion. I think this house is beautiful. I love this. This is a great yard, whatever the case may be. Opinion, opinion, opinion. So I'm accentuating maybe its best features. Everybody that's in sales to some degree has got to do a little puffing, because puffing is stating your opinion and it's not, however, misstating factual information. If I understand the question, if I were to put out an advertisement that states that a house is a specific architectural style, or if I put out in my marketing that it's a specific square footage, or that it sits in a certain school district, fact, 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 which means we're dealing with factual information. So I cannot misstate factual information. So that goes into misrepresentation. So what you need to understand is whether it's the style of the home, the school district, whether it's in a flood zone or not, like these types of things, those are factual pieces of info. And you cannot misstate those when you're marketing or advertising, because it's either innocent misrepresentation, which means you did it on accident, but it's still wrong, or it's intentional, which is fraud. And that's a whole nother subject for another day. So make sure that you know the line. Puffing means it's an opinion and it's not misstating factual information. So to this point, I would think an architectural style, I would be careful, Because if you say it is a specific architectural style and it isn't, that could be looked at as misrepresentation. Warning, by the way, Art, put at the bottom, no, this is not legal advice. Make sure people know none of this is legal advice. I'm just trying to help you guys learn real estate for the test and learn for your career. None of this is legal advice. Always seek the advice of your broker or your attorney if you don't know. Get that caveat out there. Okay, so at this point in the show, we got 3 questions in. So I think it's time for us to get one last question, which is relative to once somebody has their license, because we get a bunch of questions about what to do once somebody has their license. So bring me one of those and we'll close out the show with that type of question.
I finished your online program on the 26th of June. Now I'm studying for the licensing exam. I would like to know how many leads I will need to generate to earn $3,000 per month in commissions.
How many leads to earn 3? I feel like we've addressed this one before, but the same kind of question comes up a lot. So what was the person's name that asked the question? Okay. So the question is, how many leads do I need to generate to make $3,000 a month? Okay. The short answer is as many as possible. The long answer is you need way more information. And the reason for that is we need to know, for instance, what type of properties are you selling? What's your average commission that you take home per sale? What is the marketplace that you're in? Does it support a certain number of transactions? So as an example, to make $3,000 per month, that sounds like one transaction a month. So at minimum, what we're going to look at is we're going to backtrack, which means if I need one transaction a month, then it means I probably need to generate, I don't know, at least 40 leads to that one transaction, just to be very, very average and kind of boilerplate to answer the question the way it was presented. And then the question becomes, well, what do I need to do to generate those 40 leads? So then there's going to be a whole lot of marketing, right? Prospecting, advertising, branding. That's going to draw those people to you. That's then going to allow you to have those real estate related appointments and conversations, right? Those at bats that will lead to closings that are 3,000 or way higher. If you're a real estate agent that's in a high marketplace, and I mean high value, like San Francisco or New York City, your answer is going to be different than maybe a low value, middle of the country, high transaction. So $3,000, the way it's presented, at least in this question, is a number in a vacuum, but it's obviously an important number to you, right? So what's important is you've got to know your business, you've got to know your market, and you've got to backtrack and understand that you should be trying to generate as many leads as possible, knowing that on average, now this is average, not having anything to track on, it's going to take about 40 conversations for every closing. So you're going to have 40 people that are going to be interested, that you're going to talk to, that you're going to have a call with, you're going to discuss possibly buying to get down the line to one closing. And then what we don't know is one closing worth $1,000 to you or $10,000 to you? It likely depends on the type of property, the marketplace, etc. So what I would encourage you to do is, especially when you're first starting out, is to focus on building your pipeline, getting as many potential buyers and sellers, landlords and tenants, whatever it is that you're going to deal with, into your pipeline, into your database, because more is merrier. And the more people that you can communicate with, the more possible that will become interested, and then the more that will likely lead into an actual sale for your business. So it's a good old-fashioned numbers game. What I would say is, if your goal is $3,000 a month, start it. I need 40 for every one, and then if I need that all year long, I'm going to need like what, 960, 1,000. So you want to focus on how many people can you talk to about real estate. Build that pipeline. Don't limit yourself. More is merrier. And then by tracking over time, you'll be able to see how much your average commission is worth, and you'll also be able to see how many leads you need to generate in order to close. because the quality of the leads you're going to see based on different sources are going to change. So really good question. Keep it really simple, as many as you possibly can. That's the goal. Focus on building your pipeline. That's the key. All right. I think that's all we have time for today. Art, yeah, we're out of time. So listen, guys, I really appreciate you being part of the show. It's really good to be back here on the Ask Donaldson show. So if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Make sure to like this page if you're watching the video on Facebook. But most importantly, if you want us to answer your question on a future episode, you've got two options. The first, use the mailbag. It's askdonaldson@christalks.com, or simply use your favorite social media. So Twitter, Instagram, use the hashtag AskDonaldson, and we'll be looking for your questions on future episodes. Until then, good luck on your test. Good luck in your career. You guys are in a great place. I look forward to seeing you next time.